Record on the cloud. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Marcy Heim, the Artful Asker, and you are in 3 massive mistakes even smart fundraisers make raising major gifts. I am delighted that you are spending this time with me today, and I'm going to be completely transparent. You know that's how I'm wired. I am mainly doing this webinar today because I want to encourage a handful of you to really, honestly, sincerely consider joining me in Chicago on September 14th and 15th for 2 solid days when we talk about raising more major gifts. My More Major Gifts Boot Camp it's just a great program, and I want you to know that it's a small program. I limit it to 20 folks or so. Sometimes we have 10, sometimes we have 18, sometimes we have 28. It just kind of goes around those numbers. So we really get a lot of time to interact with each other and to be together. And it's just a great couple of days in Chicago. And I know you would all enjoy it. So today is to certainly give you some good, solid information about 3 mistakes I think we really mess up on. And even in all my years doing this, there's some things that we seem to continuously get stuck on. So I want to talk about them today. First off, you know how I always begin, something good's going to happen to me. I hope you all say this with me wherever you are. Something good is going to happen to me. I'm glad you're here today, and I believe in my heart of hearts that how we think about everything we do more than anything else in our life influences the results we get and the happiness we enjoy. And this is something that I got from Joyce Meyer. And if something happens, so you open that email where somebody says, well, Marcy, I know we've been talking about this or that, but I don't think it's going to work for us to make that gift this year. I read the email, I take it in, something good is going to happen to me. I just need this line. It helps me just say, yep, something good's going to happen to me, and something good will happen out of this. You know, I'm a biochemist and a scientist by training. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I want my actions to be positive, and I know those reactions will come, and they will be positive as well. So thank you. You know I'm a girl singer, and I had a chance to sing with Maya Angelou. And she said, you want to compose a good world. It's an honorable and noble profession. And bingo, I said that is our vision statement. So to each and every one of you, however you are involved in the advancement profession, student relations, alumni relations, fundraising, executive director, board member, communications person in a nonprofit, doing it all, doing a little piece of it. You are part of an honorable and noble profession. Please don't forget that. Please don't forget that. I'm going to zoom a bit. I was at a workshop in Huntsville, Alabama, and someone came up to me and said, you know, my mom always introduces me as her professional beggar. And I went, ooh, well, okay. Clearly, your mom needs to have some new words to talk about what you do and a better understanding of what you do. So on the break, we talked about things that she could say to her mom and how she could talk to her mom about how her mom could describe her. And that's really what I am all about. I want to change your thoughts. I want to change your words so that you can not only raise more money, but be happier in this work that we do. I was at a conference with Penelope Burke early last week, and we talked about the tremendous turnover in our advancement profession. And that's scary. Oh my goodness gracious. And I think a lot of that is because we're not enjoying this work like we should be because of some of the pressures that are on us and some of the dynamics that we work within. And I really am working hard to change that. For almost 25 years, I was a major gift officer myself. If you're going to ask somebody to learn from you, and I'm honored that you're here today to do that, they better have been on the front lines doing it, and not just gone to school for it or talked about it. You need to be there. You need to experience it. And I've been blessed to be able to work with scores of $1 million givers. But you know what? It's not the amount. It's not the number. It's the experience that we create for those donors that we work with. The other day I was thinking, we don't get a gift. We get a donor. We get a giver. We get a relationship with a person, and money is just what we're exchanging between us. So we should talk about how many givers that we've raised in a year, not donors, or not dollars. There's also, I'm going to just hit mute all again here. Yeah, because I'm getting some noise. There we go. And almost 25,000 people have experienced my 3-sentence ask, and I'll put that out there today. And the kinds of things that I want to talk about are investing in joy and dialing down the drama. And just a little bit more about me. I'm a Scorpion. I love purple, and I'm a cat lover, and I'm a girl singer. So now we know each other. And I thought you'd love the picture in the snow. I've mentioned that I believe so strongly that we become what we think about. And you need to look at your mind as being this fertile, wonderful field. And I'd like you to consider that the field doesn't tell the farmer what to plant. The field doesn't say, hey, I want to be soybeans, I want to be corn, I want to be alfalfa. Frankly, the field doesn't care. The farmer decides what to plant in the land. And so each and every one of you decide what to plant in our marvelous minds. Will it be fear, confusion, anxiety, overwhelm, or will it be calmness, excitement, positive stuff? What are we going to watch? What are we going to listen to? What are we going to read? What are we going to open up on Facebook? What are we going to do with all those devices of ours? We choose what we plant in those marvelous minds. We choose what we plant. We become, in fact, what we think about. This is something from Earl Nightingale said in 1957. Not a new idea, but a powerful idea. And if it were easy, we would all be successful, happy, and thin. It's not. It's not easy to control our thinking, but it's so very, very important, especially in our major gift work. So you're in the right place today. If things are going well for you, I find that the people that come to my programs are already successful. They're doing a great job. They want to do a better job. And if things are going well, but a big chunk of your funding is from the same source year after year, or you depend on the annual fund or a signature event for most of your fundraising, we need to talk about how major gifts can play a role in your life if you're there. If you need more stability in your funding, we need to talk about how major gifts can help. If you don't have enough time for major gifts, oh my gosh, do I hear that a lot. If you're stressed out about meeting operations, if you find every year you've got some SOS kind of campaign at the end of the year to finish up operations, oh my gosh. If just in general you'd like to bring in more major gifts, that's what this is about. And also, please look at and get rid of the, I am a unique snowflake. There's no other nonprofit out there just like me. We have these unique problems, so this won't work for me because we are unique. Wrong answer. If you're a large shop, small shop, if you define a major gift as $100 or $1 million, if you're social services, arts, environment, animal welfare, hospital education, whatever you are, and also if you've always done it this way, this pertains to you. So stay on. If any of these describe you, if our top 2 grants went away, we'd be in a world of hurt. We have one grand donor who every year provides a chunk of operations for a long time. Sure hope that doesn't change, right? Oh, these are all things I've actually heard. We have this one event. A lot of times they call it their signature event. As long as it keeps bringing in the same dollars, we're fine. Corporations are generous in my town. So they've got that. This person had a tiered, purple, gold, and something else. And as long as we get the one to renew, the rest come on board. Our government funding is stable. That was not said this year. It's also for you if you want more stability financially, because major gifts are the key to providing that. It's also if you want to make a bigger difference. I know that it's fun to talk to some of our donors at all sizes. They're wonderful people. But we make the most impact when we can work with our major donors. And if you want more time for yourself and less stress. So these three massive mistakes, what are they? Why do I think they're so important? How do you fix them? Specifically today, I want to cover what's the perfect funding mix for your organization. What should you be focusing on? Are you paying lip service to being a grateful recipient? What's a wrap? And how can you grow your skills in raising more money? So this is my promise to you. In the next 50 minutes, I will pile in as much as I can to help you have more success and joy in your day-to-day. And I'm also going to tell you how you can go deeper with me and consider coming to my More Major Gifts workshop. Some of these mistakes actually rob us of our joy, and that's what inspires me more than anything else to do the kind of work that I do. So this is one of my most favorite things, and I want to start here. As I've grown my business over the last about 7 years now, what I've learned more than anything is when it's hard is when I'm not clear about what to do next. And I'm sort of flailing around, and it's not that I'm not willing to work hard. It's not that I'm not dedicated. It's certainly not that I'm not smart. I'm bright. So are you. It's not that I'm not willing to try new things. I honestly don't know what to do next or in what order to do them. And it seems like I am bombarded and showered with options. There are so many options that at times, instead of these options being exciting, it feels like these options that we can use to spend our time in our work and our life are like waves that I'm going under, and my hand is reaching up over the waves, and I'm like, help me figure this out. So confusion versus clarity. How we find more clarity in our lives is vitally important, because a confused donor doesn't give. If you sprue so much in front of a donor, or you're not clear what you are asking them to consider, you will not get a yes. Clarity is so important. A confused donor doesn't give. A confused fundraiser doesn't ask. You know, as we're building that relationship, as we're on that walk with our donors, if we can't figure out because we're either not listening well enough, or we're not asking the right questions, or somehow we're not connecting, where are they really interested in being involved with us? And we just haven't found the right niche yet. We just haven't connected the dots just right yet. Or we perceive. So is it real, or is it our mindsets? Or we perceive we don't know. Or maybe it's a bigger number than we're comfortable asking for. But when we're unsure, it's very hard for us to speak that ask. There'll always be an excitement to speaking an ask, and there should be. There'll always be an excitement. But it shouldn't be fear. It shouldn't be, there's a difference in that. A confused board doesn't function. I do so much board training, and I'm flying off to Canada tomorrow. And the board president, chair, and I were having our pre-board training call. And he said, Marcy, you know, I don't think the board is clear on exactly what it's supposed to do. You betcha. A confused board doesn't function. They're not functioning as well. So understand that at the root of everything we're doing, we're always trying to ask ourselves, how can I get clearer about just exactly what I'm trying to do? Now, that doesn't mean ready, aim, well, I'm not quite clear on this yet, so I can't move forward. Ready, aim, well, I don't really know this yet, so I can't move forward. Ready, no, we still move forward, but we're always seeking that clarity. Okay, so let's get going here on massive mistake number 1. Focusing on the wrong thing. Asking the wrong questions. First, I had mistake number 1 is finding funding balance. It's deeper than that. It's more than that. We can be really, really busy and really not very successful because we're focusing on the wrong things. We're asking the wrong questions. So we have to get some clarity, there's that word again, around what's urgent versus what's important. And I will tell you, you've got to discover important. Important doesn't just lay itself out there. Urgent's pretty darn clear. you know, whoever you report to wants this answer by XYZ. If you don't get the copy to the printer, the invitation's not going to go out. If the letter isn't signed by the volunteer, it won't be ready to mail. If you don't raise these many dollars, this project won't go forward. We know those urgent things. We get those deadlines. But you have to discover what's really important. Because one thing that's important is giving yourself time to think. Ooh, how many people put that on the top of their list? Oh, Marcy, if I just had a chance to think this through a little bit. Right. You need to make that time. I'm giving each and every one of you permission to set aside some time each day. The world today is big into meditation. I just call that my alone time to really ask myself each and every day, okay, I create my life today. I create my life. What are the most important things for me to do today? And I have something called a Sunday Summit. If you want to get a hold of that, just give me an email. And I use this every week to get clarity on what's the most important thing for me to do this week. And I check back in. If I haven't gotten the 3 most important things done, because guess what? All these urgent things got in the way, I need to make some changes. So we really need to get clear on what's urgent and what's important. It's something that, my friends, whether you're on your first year as a major gift officer or your first few years, or whether you've been involved in this honorable or noble profession and noble profession for a decade or 2, we still get into this trap. Those urgent things get our attention. The things that bug us, you know, the ping, the email popping up, I mean, how many of you have colleagues that send you an email, then walk down or call you and say, I just sent you an email? I know, but I don't look at my email every 10 seconds. I look at my email 3 times a day. When I first get up in the morning, I try to check in right after lunch, and I close out my day. I am not going to be a slave to that email because I have important things to do. Now, some of you may argue, but what if it's a donor that's sending you that urgent message? I'll see it at the end of the day. So I want to give you some examples now of things that I think we need to think differently about and ask different questions around and focus differently on. Funding balance. What I mean by funding balance is you have goals around how many dollars you want to raise. And within those goals, there's a portion that's the annual fund. There's probably a portion that's an event. There's probably a portion that's grants. There's a portion that's major gifts. And what are we focusing on? Are we spending 3/4 of the year getting the items for the silent auction at our event? Running around selling tables? Harassing our board to fill their tables? Sorry, but you know how I feel about events. Or do we have that one government grant that, by gosh, if it goes away, we're in a world of hurt? Well, I'm working with this year with a lot of folks that are all messed up because they relied on that one government grant, and that may be changing. So first off, dial down the drama. Oh my God, the grant's going away. What are we going to do? You know, let's march. Now, marching raises a lot of money, right? So instead, let's calm down. Let's take a breath, and let's really take a hard look at how we're funding our organization. And if more than 25% of our budget is coming from one source, we need to take a look at that. So there are 2 things in here. Are we focusing on too much on one piece? And are we asking the right questions? Are we saying, what should our funding balance be? How should it look? How can we be robust? And if we focus on one thing, and if that's an event or a grant we have to write, or maybe one major donor that, boy, if this donor dies or changes his mind, we'll be in a world of hurt. We need to say, does this serve our major gift work, and do we need to make some changes? Number 2, talking about your needs. We have to rethink how we talk about our needs. So first off, oh, poor us, you know, we didn't get that government grant this year, so we really are needy now. Donors, major donors, want to give to accomplish things, not because you have needs. And the organization truly doesn't have needs. So you don't need a women's shelter. There are women who need a shelter, and you are the organization that's going to make that happen. You don't need the shelter. The women do. Kids need an education. So there are schools of all kinds, Montessori, universities, after school, everything, that have educational opportunities. People need educational opportunities. The schools are the source of those. Do you see the difference? So we talk about the people who have the needs and how our organization helps fill those needs, but not we have needs. We aren't needy. We think about how rethink how you view staffing support. So there are times that I will, where am I, 320? There are times that I will suggest to my clients, hire an administrative person before you hire another major gift officer, and support that major gift officer however you can. Now, they're all different. If that means you type in their contact screens for them, or make some phone calls for them, or gather some information together for them, great. Just because we all have access to computers doesn't mean we should spend our days sitting behind them. Let me say that again. Just because we all have access to computers doesn't mean we should spend our days sitting behind them. There are people who like to be dying behind the computer all day, and there are people that should be out there talking to people. And if you're a major gift officer, I hope you're the second. And if you're a major gift officer and your butt's in your chair in your office too much, you're not going to be successful. You need to be out there seeing people. I said to one board at a training, if you walk in the office and you're saying hi to all the staff, you've got a problem. They shouldn't be there. Oh, okay. So think about how our staffing support maximizes productivity. It's just clearly important. Rethink how you view operation support. There's some places that say major gifts are only for those special major projects, not for our annual operations. No. Those major gifts are for, a unique naming option or a building campaign or whatever. Or it's uncomfortable to ask for operations. People don't want to hear about that. That's not sexy, for lack of a better word. I think if you've got entrepreneurs and you're around your organization, they know that infrastructure is important for them to be successful in business. Your donors understand that you have to have infrastructure to be successful in business. They understand that you have equipment needs, space needs, and salary needs. And blow off the planet this cost per dollar raised business. It doesn't serve us at all. So ask yourself a different question. How can you help tell the story about it's the good that we do and how we maximize our efficiency and our output, not how we can squeak down, pay our teams as little as possible, get by on computers that came over with Columbus, and so we have to stand there and hand feed them. I mean, truly, I have a client who literally has to stand and hand feed 2,500 envelopes to get the annual fund mailing out. Crazy. She's also doing major gifts, right? So rethink about how we review operation support and proudly go forth and talk about these are the things we need to make the place tick. Rethink endowment. There are, I know that everybody's excited about money now. Probably most your executive directors or your board chairs, they want those dollars now. They want to meet needs now. But really rethinking how you talk about and offer people the opportunity to create even a small endowment. Do you have the infrastructure to manage an endowment? If not, that's the question you have to ask. Change your focus. Ask a different question. How can we serve people by offering them endowments? Now, some of you who are on the phone and you're from great big organizations where you have all this worked out, great, awesome. Some of you who are in smaller organizations, take the time to ask the question, how can we be sure we have the ability to talk to someone about endowment giving and offer them that investment? And finally, rethink about what is possible. we will go out and finally get the appointment. So maybe this appointment's been hard to get. And then we come in and we talk about, well, we need to have a little more money to finish blah, 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 instead of saying, I have this big vision for what we can do, and this is how you can be a part of that big dream. Big visions get big gifts. Big visions get big gifts. So where is your focus? Are you focusing on that little kind of thing you're trying to finish off there? Or are you really stepping back and saying, how can we be amazing? Yes! And that's what you're going out and talking to your major donors about. Big visions get big gifts. So this kind of is a tag along to having vision. That vision comes around having a strategic plan. And this isn't a blah, 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 blah. What numbers can we change from last year? Put it back on the shelf and check off the list. We've updated our strategic plan. Oh, that's nice. Strategic plan means pulling people together in the room and making them all a little uncomfortable. Really say, what would happen if we stretched to this point? What would we look like if we really did this? I don't like those ones that say, oh, if money was no object. Well, money is an object. But when we look at where we could be in 5 or 7 years, 3, 5, or 7 years, kind of crazy to go out to 10 these days, 3, 5, or 7 years, what could we look like? What would be amazing? And give people time to think. There are also strategic planning sessions where, well, we carved out 2 hours for our strategic planning session. Really? At a minimum, you need 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, and feed people. A culture of philanthropy. What does that mean? That means having a vision that says the janitor, the receptionist, the program staff, the aquatics director in a Y, the parents, the alumni, that everyone is kind of part of and parcel of your mission. They're all part of this culture of generosity. They're all part of being excited about how private support is making something happen here. Yeah. And they understand that they're a part of it. They get it. They get that they're a part of engaging and relationship building. So this vision of having this culture of generosity. And again, having a big vision. And I put here, do you make time to think? That's the question I want you to ask. Is it always the thing that gets waylaid? And I did a story on my Dial Down the Drama series where I called it Creating White Space. And I also wrote it up in my e-zine, Artful Action. So if you haven't read it, you can get it on my website and my blog. But as I talked about creating white space, what I mean by that is organizations that consciously say, we're going to cut out this time for planning. We're going to dedicate this time to just sitting in a room and thinking. Or we want you to have enough time to prepare for a meeting, come to the meeting, and digest the meeting after it's done. And oh, by the way, we're going to minimize the number of meetings any of us are doing that waste our time. But do you make time to think? And that opportunity, that space, lets you reboot, lets you re-energize, lets you reinvigorate. You need that downtime, that space to reboot. Yesterday, I watched the eclipse. It was amazing. That's the middle of the day, me, my special glasses, looking at the moon crossing over the sun. Very cool reboot time. You need to make time to think. Having the right infrastructure. So this is, please be sure that we're asking the right questions. I have a client that, so again, all of the information that I give you comes from the experiences that I have. So it may not be your shop, but it's in there in shops, and I know that it touches many of you. The whole idea of getting those thank you notes out in 24 hours, the very first level for a major donor that's sending you a major gift or a gift that's major to them is, do you get it in the right fund? and they're waiting for the check to get cashed. Had it got put in a drawer because you only toddle off to the bank once a week? Happens every day, friends. So that administrative support, those policies around the right infrastructure, what's going to be? What questions are you asking? So one of the massive mistakes we make, coming back to our theme, is that we don't stop and ask the right questions. And then insist, really be part of making things change. Is there a dedicated fundraising staff member? When you're, and by this I mean major gifts. If you're trying to get the event run and do major gifts, if you're trying to manage a team and do major gifts, if you're trying to do corporate relations and do major gifts, if you're trying to write grants and do major gifts, I get that some of you have to do it, but far better have that infrastructure that lets a major gift officer focus on building those relationships. Do you have the right equipment? Do you have, again, the ambassadors? Are you really looking at building that infrastructure where everybody understands they're a part of the overall mission? Do you have the right options for giving? I like the idea of vibrant options for giving. So are you asking the right questions? Do you really know how to package what you want to talk to your donors about? I find that a lot of times my major gift officers that I work with and coach aren't clear, again, that question of clarity, on how exactly to present different options to donors, especially if they're not in something like a building campaign where you can say, oh yeah, we got this room here and we've got this room here, and then hope that everybody likes to give to buildings. What kind of vibrant giving options do you have to offer? And those vibrant giving options should come from both your strategic plan and your operating budget. And I want to get back to the first one. The organization, that is perceived as a big black hole. I give to the University of Wisconsin. Holy smokes. There are people who do, but those that are giving major gifts are very clear. And there's kind of a tension there. The more money people give, generally, the more say they want in how that gift is managed. That might seem like common sense to some, but then that kind of goes against the manager or the dean or the executive director or whomever spends the money, who would like as much flexibility as possible. Understand that there's that tension there. And again, after you've made that strategic plan, that's when you ask yourself the question, what sort of things need to come in place? What has to be different from today and 3 or 5 or 7 years from now for these things to come true? Those are your giving options. And you can tell somebody, for these dreams to come true, this is what our organization has to look like. This is how it has to change. This is what it needs to have. And then there's the operations budget. And this is one of my favorite stories, and some of you may have heard it. Working with a senior facility, the executive director of the facility said, well, wouldn't I love somebody to pay for the heating bill around this place for a few years? And everyone kind of chuckled. You know, senior centers are usually about 110 degrees. And one of the board members that was there got very quiet. So I looked at her and I just said, we'll call her Gladys. I said, Gladys, what are you thinking, Gladys? And she said, you know, my mom is here. And there are times I feel like I need to wear a swimsuit when I see her. It's so hot in her room. But you know what? She's always warm. She's not cold, and that's so important for her. And I think it's important that we have the heating bill paid. And she made a pledge to pay the heating bill for the next 3 years. So the executive director copied that heating bill, and she made a gift in the exact amount of that heating bill for 3 years. No, we didn't take it out of the budget. No, we didn't know it was forever. But the next 3 years while her mom was there, that was a vibrant giving option for her. So be creative and try not to have blocks around things. For any of you folks that share my state of Wisconsin, we have Kohler Company. So many of our projects' toilets are funded through the generosity of the Kohler Company and their fixtures and so many things that make bathrooms great. So don't limit yourself, but really think about those vibrant options. Ask the right questions. Okay, your own growth. What questions are you asking around that? Bravo for being here today. I appreciate that. You're giving me an hour of your time, and that's amazing. Your funding mix is most dramatically impacted by major gifts. So are you asking yourself, how do I bring more major gifts into my organization so that I can balance out the money we get in this grant if that grant goes away, or I can balance out this government funding we get if that goes away, or if the interest rates tank again and foundations don't give what they used to, we can balance that because we have these major individual gifts. Your own growth, time and money. We never think we have enough time or money to invest in ourselves. I want to encourage you to realize that your ability to be successful is directly proportional to how much time and money you're willing to invest in your own growth. If you're not growing, you're dying. And as much as I have the privilege of teaching and educating, I still have my own coach that I work with, and I take in as many development educational programs as I can. And when I go and speak at something, I always say to them, please let me fly out the next day, even if I have to pay my own night in the hotel to stay an extra day, because I want to hear all the other presenters. I know I can learn from them. Our time and our money vested in that is so important. 85% of your success is dependent on your mindset. And finally, your growth. Fundraising is a team sport. So your own growth in being confident and comfortable and prioritizing bringing those partners in. One of the most common questions I get is, how do you get help with that first visit? I have trouble getting those first appointments. The answer starts with a P, and it's partners. Who does somebody really want to see in your organization? Is it a board member? Is it a student? Is it a recipient of services? Is it somebody fun in one of your program staff members? Who is it that they would be excited to meet or see? Set up your appointment with them. It's using those partners. Okay, so I've kind of been giving you the answers. Your funding mix is most dramatically impacted by major gifts. Endowments build security. Security builds more endowments. And people say, how do we get more planned gifts? Well, by being a sound and secure organization that people say, oh, I don't want to die tomorrow, so I want to know that they have got a sound financial base and are going to be here. So when that event occurs or I die, they are on board with taking in my bequest. 85% of your success is your mindset. I'll say this again and again. Major giving is work, slow work. It's fuzzy work. You crave. That's supposed to be crave, not grave. I must have still been on the legacy giving. You crave solid facts and stuff you can talk about. So what I want to say there is, we can have a wonderful major gift call and go back and say, what exactly was the deliverable of that call? Well, it's kind of fuzzy. They seem to better understand this need. They seem to be interested about this and want to talk more about it. We had a good interaction, so they're more favorable for our organization now, versus I sent out 5 fundraising letters and 3 came back with checks of this size within these many days and for this purpose. Yeah, that's real specific. But all of that work all together doesn't have the same impact as one new major gift. And when you're confident, you'll make those major gift asks and build those relationships. So a lot of this is your confidence. So now I'll share what I promised. I did say to you that I want to talk to you about my More Major Gifts workshop and the outcomes you'll get there. By and large, the number one thing people say when they've been through my 2-day boot camp is I'm more confident about what I'm doing. And a lot of times, I'm not giving them anything new and juicy, but I'm also reinforcing the skills and the knowledge they already have. Of course, we'll write and ask with my formula, but the best part is we write it and speak it there, and I can coach you around it. And we'll talk about all of the different things you use that ask formula for, not just dollars. I'll help you create options that lead to giving success that leads to funding balance. It's all about having those vibrant options. And we'll talk about my cycle of successful relationships and outline your specific steps in a relationship action plan. And finally, we'll talk about using partners effectively from the first appointment on. Here's my 3-sentence ask. Many of you have seen it. It's in my book. Joe, you have some kind of compliment on their service or giving. These are 3 sentences, not paragraphs, sentences. Joe, you have been such a long-time friend of our organization. You've been here since the beginning. You understand how this new program will take us to a whole new level. Would you consider a gift of $5,000 for the new program? Now, you'll have much a clearer handle on the specific, but that's that 3-sentence ask. So I'd like you to take action, and remember that the Spring Hill Suites, they've given me an extension on this, but it only goes to today. So if you go to my website, www.marcyheim.com, and you find the More Major Gifts page, and you click on the September 13th and 14th dates, there's a link there that will take you right to the Spring Hill Suites. And I just want to encourage you all, I don't want you to miss this. Several of you have been talking to me about it. It's time to make a decision. And it's only 5 minutes from O'Hare. Today only they have that $139 rate. Tomorrow my block of rooms goes away and the rates go up. So I just want you to hear that. Tuition for 2 solid days with me, we go 8 to 5 both days, is $597. And I also limit it to 20 folks. So again, we'll be in a small group setting. All right, let's go to massive mistake number 2. And this one has been around for all time and is still there. Just about a week ago, I heard Tammy Zonker talk about the 5 donor love languages. It was a great session. But we come back around to we pay lip service to stewardship. We talk about how important it is to thank our donors, and we talk about how important it is to thank our donors, and we talk about how important it is to thank our donors, and we don't do it. And we don't do it in a way that's generous, that's authentic, that's unique, that's kind, that's thoughtful. We come all the way around this cycle. We find shared values. We create that joyful giver. We speak that ask. And then when we need to be that grateful recipient, we forget about it and we think about, oh, where's my next giver that I can get working around so that I can speak that artful ask? No. I will put out here that if you spent 60% of your time being a grateful recipient, you would raise more money. Now you might say, but Marcy, I need to speak more asks. No, you need to be more grateful. You need to be more grateful. As you become as you focus on being a grateful recipient more and more, what you'll find is that it merges into creating a joyful giver. Because in the act of letting someone know how sincerely you appreciate their support, in the act of doing that, all of a sudden this magic happens where they say, and what else can I do? This has been terrific. And you start teasing out where they want their next gift to be. It's so exciting, so great. So everything that happens after the gift is made. Now I want to blow out of the water that it's your fastest path to the next gift. I think that's so manipulative. Sure, when we appreciate our givers, oftentimes they want to do more, but that's not why we do it. We do it because it's the right thing to do and the donor deserves to enjoy the giving. And that stewardship, that being a grateful recipient, happens on 3 levels. I already hinted at the first one, stewarding the gift, the check, the stock, the property, the trust, whatever it is that they're using to make that gift. First and foremost, are we dealing with that gift properly in a timely fashion, putting it in the right fund? Now you might say, really? When I do feasibility studies and I'm out talking to donors and I say, what are the things we do right? What are the things we do wrong? I would love to tell you that they say, oh, we always process my gift so well. In fact, what I hear instead is, no, they can't even get the check in the right place. Or I send this major gift and I'm looking at my bank account trying to figure out if they've cashed it yet. Stewarding the gift. Second, stewarding the donor. Those are all of those marvelous things we do, from chocolate chip cookies to bringing them in to meet recipients, to taking them on tours of sites they've been involved with creating, You know all of those things. I would just say add to that list, and we'll talk about it a little more. Be creative in how you say thank you. And finally, that culture of stewardship, so that everybody in the place, you don't walk into a library and have the person behind the desk typing away kind of look at you like, yes, like it's an annoyance to have to interrupt what they're doing to talk to you. That's not having a culture of stewardship. So it's having that culture of stewardship. It's the right thing to do. It shows our sincere appreciation, and yep, it it's it leads to the next gift. It's increasing our ROI. So I want to give you today 10 tips for successfully being a grateful recipient. Number one, the power of one. I know there are organizations out there that don't reward you either in how they count your metrics, in how you're paid. They don't reward good stewardship. I get that. But that doesn't mean you still can't do it. It's vitally important, and you as an individual can walk through each and every day saying, I will be grateful today, and I will shower my gratitude however I can. People set up starting every day making one gratitude call and ending every day making one gratitude call. What a great way to bookend our days. Get into that ritual, the power of one. Make it fun. Sometimes we're so serious. Oh my goodness gracious. Break out the balloons. Brainstorm on meaningful actions. You can brainstorm with yourself, but what I'm implying here is get together with a group of people. Having trouble getting those first appointments? Well, what if you call 3 people up and say, hey, I'm trying to get 3 folks together so we can talk about how our organization can better say thank you. What would be meaningful for you? I'll bet you'll get a yes to that call a lot more than, well, I'm going to be in the area and I thought I'd stop by. Yeah, okay. Number 4, engage partners to make the touch. So this is where, when you've got that little small group meeting, the next thing you ask them is, Josie, that's a great idea. Would you actually be willing to do that with one of our donors? Quarterly touches as part of relationship action plans. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in this webinar, but at least quarterly touches as part of a plan. You plan to make them. A communication style they like or stands out. So for example, number 6 here, if they always email, then send them a handwritten note. If they always call, then send them an email. So use what they like, but also use something different. Mix it up. Create a system that works for you. I had one person that say they do 3 by 3. So 3 emails, 3 phone calls, 3 letters, 3 times a week. And that was their goal. Some people have a gratitude bowl. They throw a clipping or something in the hat that they don't have time for right now. But then in their filler times, when they've got just a little bit of time, they don't say, oh, I'll go on Facebook. No, they say, I'm going to grab something out of my gratitude bowl and take action on it. It's never too late to say thank you. Let me repeat that. It's never too late to say thank you. Group touches work, specific or organization-wide, but they must, all of these things must be genuine, and number 10 is the most important thing on here. Do you see that picture? So she's yakking away there, and what she's saying is thank you, but we hope you'll continue to support our organization. Or thank you, and we look forward to your continuing support. Or thank you, and we hope we can count on your support next year. No, no, no. Or even things more subtle. Thanks, and we love having you part of our family. That's heard by donors, and I got this again from my interview with major donors. That's heard as a soft ask. Say thank you, and pardon me, shut up. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your investment in our organization. When you're setting up your board members to make calls, be crystal clear with them. Clarity, be crystal clear with them. Your job is to say thank you. I serve on the board of directors here at XYZ, and I just want you to know how grateful I am for your investment in the work that we're doing. Thank you. No more. Thank you. Be quiet. All right. So now a little bit about why the More Major Gifts Workshop. Think about what one major gift would do. And Who do I want to come to this? Fundraisers, yes. Executive directors, yes. Board members, deans, whoever. My last workshop, I had a pastor and his brand new director of development. They are rocking it now, rocking it now. What is it? Again, it's 2 solid days where we focus on major gifts. And it doesn't matter what you think is the size of a major gift. And it doesn't matter if you've been successful raising major gifts in the past or not. It's unique in that I spend all of the first morning talking about empowering your mindset, controlling your thinking, and raising your own thoughts up to a new level. The best part of the whole workshop. It's not governance. It's not annual fund. It's not corporation and foundation relations. It's major gifts. It's also a series of doing. I have a workbook filled with worksheets that, depending on where your needs are, get you crystal clear on what you do next, that we fill out along the way. We stop and do questions and answers, and again, it's a small size. So what's our third massive mistake? Our third massive mistake is we are winging it. We're going on one call, and then we're saying, we come off of that call, and we say, okay, let's see, what am I going to do next? No, wrong. No, massive mistake. And I'm amazed at how many people have been in this honorable and noble profession for years and don't have a plan with a donor. They don't have a plan. They don't have, or I love this. Oh, Marcy, my plan's in my head. I know where I'm going. Well, maybe your plan is in your head, but then you're going to bed every night with 50 plans bouncing around in your head, and that's not conducive to sleep. Get that out of your head and onto paper. And the other problem with it being in your head is you're going to screw up. You're going to miss somebody. You're going to forget about them. You're going to miss taking that action. I'm not a big supporter of moves management when it's done manipulatively. Well, we're going to get John here, and then we're going to do this, and then this. That is not the kind of attitude or philosophy that promotes long-term wonderful relationships. Instead, I want us to think about this lifetime walk we have. So a relationship action plan is written, it's out of your head, and it's of specific artful actions you and your partners, and preferably you with your partners, will take at least once a month with your top 25, your top. This goes back to the first massive mistake. We're focusing on 600 people. The top 25 or 50 givers over a year or more to facilitate their maximum long-term investments. This is clear. It doesn't stop there. Using reverse engineering. So you start with a vision of what they could possibly, in your wildest dreams, give, your hunch, and you work backwards. Do you understand? So a wrap guides us around the cycle over a period of months or years. And this is my little picture that I came up with for a wrap. I love this. A relationship action plan helps us plan out our steps through the course of a year and more. And when we write and execute wraps, we get clear. Remember, a confused donor doesn't give. A confused fundraiser doesn't ask. We don't get stuck behind the time. Now is when we better be connecting with our most major donors. Right now, coming into September, with a very clear plan we want to float out with them, or we're going to feel really crummy in November when we're trying to get that last minute year-end gift to talk to them about, what they're going to give. Ouch. And we haven't set it up because we haven't planned for it. So a plan is respectful of your donor. You're not just flailing about. It gives you clear direction. And when you are clear, a few things happen. You're not anxious, you're not stressed, you're not overwhelmed, and you sleep at night. These are good things. It's manageable. You're happier. And from my standpoint, it assures regular gratitude because you plan that gratitude in. And yeah, right. Now, this is probably what the leadership's more concerned about. It raises more money because we're planning and we're being artful in what we're doing. So write and execute those reps. Here are 6 quick steps about them. I actually go into 10 in my workshop, but there are 6 here. Determine those top givers. Who are they? And I'll give you several ways to do this. You capture everything you know about them. This doesn't mean research forever and never take a step. No. This doesn't mean ready, aim, 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 and never fire. No. This means capture everything you know now, though, and review it. Because there's nothing more frustrating than for a donor than you go out and you say, well, now tell me why you support our organization. Some of them say to me, boy, you know, I've done it for 20 years. Can't they talk to each other? And I understand that it's always fun for us to hear them tell their story, but we also need to know a little bit about what we're talking about as we start. Capture everything that's known. Come up with, and they use the word stretch, but I like to say the most significant and meaningful way they can leave a legacy. What's that big goal we have for them? You need to identify partners and recruit those partners. We have to identify those action steps for the monthly touches. And finally, and this is really what metrics should be all about, we've got to execute our plans, do them. So at our workshop, we'll go through a spreadsheet where we actually pull all of this together and then talk through how it best serves you to actionalize. Is that a word? Well, it is now. To actionalize your major gift relationship action plans. I want to share with you this comment from, this is Mindy Peterson. She works with Gathering Waters, and she came down last time we had more major gifts in June. And maybe it was March. Maybe it was a couple times ago. She says, this is a written review she gave. More major gifts was terrific. I feel like I am leaving this workshop with an even clearer path than I had hoped to walk away with. I feel like I know what needs to happen, how to do it, and that I am the right person for the job. I feel very excited. I was provided with a clear course of action. My aha moment was that I, as the development director, am the one who should be building these relationships and helping to figure out the best way for each household to make a difference in what matters to them. I just love Marcy. Thank you, Mindy. She fills me with energy and confidence. Plus, she's brilliant. We have a good time with these two, and I get so many such wonderful feedback from the people who come. So one more time, I just want to remind you all that today, and it says on the website through August 15th, I begged them to give me a few more days to get that hotel. It's $139 through today. Go on the website, click on it, and sign up for a room. Even if you want to think about it longer, you can cancel the reservation, but sign up today, please, for a room. We're at the Spring Hill Suites in Chicago on Higgin Roads. It's literally 3 minutes from the airport. And I just can't say to you enough that it would make me just delighted to have you consider investing in yourself these 2 days to be with me in Chicago. And with that, I would like to remind you to take back the power and the knowledge that you create everything, that's in your life and everything that's not in your life. So I'm going to come back to this screen, and I now want to say thank you for being with me, and I want to open it to your questions. If you have any questions, and how do I do? Oh, boy. I go to Manage Participants, and I unmute all. There you go. So you're all unmuted. Now I can hear all of you, and I would just like to open it up. If somebody would like to ask a question, you go right ahead. Any questions for me about the workshop or just in general?
Marcy, will you be emailing the slides to us?
I couldn't quite hear you. A little bit more. Marcy, will I be what?
Will you be emailing the slides to us? Friday?
Will I be emailing the slides to you? Yes, that's an excellent question. Thank you. Yes, as a follow-up to this webinar today, I will email the recording and the slides. Yep, you'll get it all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Tell
Was
us a
this
little bit
helpful?
more about your Sunday Summit.
Oh, the Sunday Summit. All right, delighted to do that. Sunday Summit is a couple-page worksheet that I actually got from a coach that I worked with and turned into a little bit more of a fundraising tool. The biggest part of it is it combines mindset and methods. So it also talks, oh, you're welcome, dear. It also talks about it's not just about did I get my 3 priorities done. It talked about what obstacles got in my way, what was I thinking, how do I want to show up next week, what word do I want to describe me for next week. Would you be interested in seeing that? Should I attach that to the follow-up for this? I can do that. Is that all right? Oh, I'm seeing some people chatting. Wonderful. So I'm a hoot. Thank you.
What's up?
Let's see. Yes, I will send my wrap sheet out with you. There's a template, and I'll send you a picture of what was on the slide. Happy to do that. You can chat as well, I see now. So any other final questions? I hope this was helpful for you. It's 4 o'clock on the dot. So will you have this workshop on the West Coast? Oh, I get asked that all the time. I will try. I will try to bring it out there, but I find that Chicago is so good because it's great for Canadians to fly in, and there's almost always somebody from Canada to use, and it's just so easy to fly into O'Hare and take the little bus. But I will listen to you and try to get something on the West Coast. But please try to come to Chicago. How do you plan for monthly touches a year in advance? And those touches might not be planned, but arise through a time when we get to know our donor. Oh, sure, that's a great question. And I'll tell you what, you're saying, but gee, Marcy, what if I plan to do this and it pops up in this time or that time, or instead a donor kind of takes us a different direction? Our plans certainly don't put our feet in cement and freeze up there. But you know what? I find that when I have a plan and I'm working that plan, it generally goes that direction. And when it's so important to also include partners in that plan, so say there's somebody else on the board or somebody else you want to involve in working with this donor, you have to also get them a part of the plan and make sure they're holding time in a certain time. Or they're in Florida for the winter and you're trying to have them meet your donor. So the plan gives you that suggested move you're going to take, and you mingle that with how you're talking to your donor on a visit. So I'm thinking maybe, John, that we'll want to get together, about September, and maybe that would be a great time to also have you meet the president of our board. How does that sound? So I knew what plan I wanted next. So I'm suggesting to John that next step before I'm ever leaving that call. I'm not saying it always works perfectly and we don't adjust along the way, but I find that 8 out of 10 times I work my plan. Patrick, can you show the last slide? So you want this one? Take back the power that you create everything in your life and everything that's not in your life. In fact, Patrick, thank you. I'm going to close on this and say, remember, you create your life. I create my life. We must take responsibility, not be victims. Oh, my board doesn't do this. Oh, I'm not of this, so I can't. All of that whining doesn't help us at all. I create my life, and take back the power and the knowledge that you truly, it's not circumstances, create everything in your life and everything that's not. Thank you so much. I'm honored and delighted that you were here today. Yep, you'll be getting a copy of this.
It's not good. What's that?
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
And
Bye-bye now. Say bye.
Watch her back. This is like that logo that she sent